Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Monday Night Live with your host, Jacob Kirkbride, here on SAFC Fan TV. As on tonight's show, we reflect on Sunderland's 1-1 draw away at Millwall at the Den this weekend, and also we'll be looking ahead to our FA Cup fourth round replay at home to Fulham on Wednesday evening. Joining me on tonight's show, we have got the man Mistake. Terry, how you doing?
Absolutely fantastic, mate. Even though it's only Monday. Much better on a Thursday. Recovering from the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And also joining us tonight is a man who joined me down at Millwall at the weekend. SAFC Fan TV, dedicated member Jack Shields. Jack, how's your day been, mate?
Yeah, it's been all right for Monday. It's gone pretty quickly. Good to see you on Saturday. Have a big crack about the match and the travel and the journey down. And yeah, looking forward to an hour talking about my favourite thing, Sunderland FC.
Absolutely. And also I hope you had a safe journey back as well up to the northeast on Saturday. And also completing tonight's lineup here on SAFC Fan TV, we've got Owen David, also known as SAFC Exiled Mackham on YouTube. Owen, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, all good for a Monday. I've had day off today, so that's good. Don't start my working week till tomorrow, and good end to my day off by talking about Sunderland Football Club. Perfect end.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Guys, if you want to put any questions to tonight's panel, the live chat is open. We'll try our best to get through as many as we can. And also, over 9,000 subscribers, an absolutely fantastic achievement hit after Terry's live stream of the Millwall game here on SAFC Fan TV on Saturday. So thank you very much to our viewers to helping us make that happen. And also tonight, we're pushing now onto that famous 10,000. If you could please like, share and subscribe, hit the thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. All of us, it will be very much appreciated. Before we start tonight's show, we want to pay our respects to massive Sunderland fan Chris Collier, who sadly passed away recently. A lifelong fan, a former British Army captain who also served as a parachute regiment during his time in the Navy. A well-loved man. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family right now from all of us here on SAFC Fan TV. So we're going to start tonight with the game away at Millwall on Saturday. Final score 1-1. Some would argue missed opportunity considering, Millwall just a point above us in the league. But then again, reflecting on it on a more clearer level, a tough place to go. Millwall always going to make it a hostile atmosphere. We're always going to put in a physical type of performance, a battle and scrap type of performance to get their rewards. But overall, Terry, we'll start with you. Would you say you're happy with a point reflecting on the game?
Well, I did say before, I think it was on Thursday, that if you come away with a point, it wouldn't be a bad result. It's a difficult place to go. Like you say, Millwall just above us in the table. We beat them 3-0 comfortably at home, but the way a match is always more intimidating. And like I said before, they've got a good, strong physical side. So a point is not a bad result. Going to the chat now, Jacob. We've got Las Palmas, Mackham there. Evening, everybody. Mick Griffiths, the moderator's on there. Bristolian Mackham, Alan Robinson, Telly, Jimmy Wayfully from Austria, Colin Major, Michael McDonough, Gary Talbot, Charlotte S94. We've got SAFC Exile Mackham on the chat and also on the show. Hello. And also we've got on there David Joblin and CONRAD Tank. All welcome to the live chat. Thank you. But yeah, 1 point on Saturday. When we went a goal down, I was kind of thinking a bit doom and gloom. I couldn't see a way back in for us, so I was absolutely buzzing to get the 1 point at the end of the day.
Jack, we'll go on to you next. Looking at the game, obviously Millwall took the lead. Jake Cooper, but nodding in, was it at the far stick? I think it came from a set piece that led up to it, and then Sunderland equalised with 10 minutes left. A well-worked free kick into the box from substitute Alex Pritchard. Dennis Serkin back in the team after an injury absence, getting on the end of it. Also knocked out in the process by Millwall's keeper. Coming away with a 1-1 draw. Overall, how would you assess Sunderland's performance on the day?
I think performance-wise, I don't think we played brilliantly well. I think it's probably one of the poorer performances in the last sort of 2 or 3 months. But I think it's a very, very good result. I think it's a very good result for a couple of reasons. Partly what Terry touched on, Millwall are having a very good season. You're looking at them, they're actually above us in the league table. Not many people would have probably expected Millwall to be up there. But it's also a very, very difficult game anytime you play them.
Interrupting us. Before we return to you, Jack, Philly's joined the show.
Hello. Party pooper there, party pooper.
Philly, I believe you're live from Austria at the moment. How's your holiday?
Hello, we're just hello, Rob. Hello, Rob. Hey! We're just waiting to go out. We're going out on the last. That's all. We're just there you go. Right, hello from Austria. Hello. There you go. Right, I'm going. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye. Love you all.
Well, that too.
Oh. At least his mic's working this time.
That's true, considering how poor it was on the deadline day show that we'd done about a week or so ago. Over to you now, Owen David. After that unexpected visit from Wee Philly there, I'm just guessing he's consumed a fair few drinks before heading into the night tonight over in Austria on his holiday. I didn't expect that at all, to be honest, for him to pop in there. But how would you see? How would you assess, rather, Sunderland's performance away at the Den this weekend?
Yeah, I think as Jack was saying, it wasn't the best performance, in terms of the football we played, but it was a battle, it was a fight. Millwall did their best to turn it into a scrap rather than a football game, didn't they? There was a lot of fouls, as Tony Mowbray said himself, I think rather jokingly, but kind of, I know, trying to point some out. There was over 100 fouls, which I think was a bit of an exaggeration, but what was encouraging was the way that they kept going to that final whistle. They never gave up. They fought. They couldn't play their usual style of football, I think, just because Millwall wouldn't let you play that style of football. They're just so overly physical. Also, the fact that there wasn't that out ball that there usually is. When we had Sims or when Stewart's fit, there wasn't the out ball to play. So, but overall, encouraged. It was a point gain. That's the thing. It's a tough place to go, and you take a point all day long. I think, knowing how hard Millwall is as a ground to go to. So I'm encouraged by that. Just hope they can obviously back it up with a win against Reading, obviously on Saturday.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. I think as the game went on, I felt on Saturday, I think at times we were sort of getting sucked into Millwall's game plan. I think they were making it really difficult for us. Obviously, they were well organised, they were getting in our faces a lot, and I think we struggled with their high press, particularly in the first half. Obviously, they had a disallowed goal, former Sunderland man George Honeyman capitalising on an Anthony Patterson mistake to put it in the back of the net. It was a rebound after Patterson failed to collect and gather, but the offside flag did go up, and I think if we got into half-time at 1-0 on Saturday, it would have been really difficult, I think, to potentially go into the second 45 and gain the same sort of momentum. But credit's where it's due. We got ourselves back into the game. We rescued a valuable point at the end of the day, and onto that game against Fulham on Wednesday. It'll be interesting to see what changes Tony Mowbray will make for that. I know he'll have a forced one, considering the fact that I think striker Joe Gelhardt's cup tied after participating for Leeds in the earlier rounds, but that's going to be the next talking point. The main change, obviously, due to a striker not coming in on deadline day, and obviously Ross Stewart being ruled out for the rest of the season, was new Sunderland man Joe Gelhardt up front on loan from Leeds United for the rest of the season. Terry, would you say that we'll come to you with the comments first before we go to your opinion on it? We sort of struggled at times to get him into the game on Saturday. It felt like he didn't really receive the ball enough in the box, and we may have to potentially tweak the system going forward to accommodate Gelhardt more.
Right, back on the chat. Only Fools and Horses. Only Fools and SAFC. Will Allen, Hertzy, 117, Colin Major, Steve Usher, DJ Earth, Sunderland AFC, and we've got Mandy Gray and Steve Usher all on the chat. Thanks for putting comments on the chat. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up today. Give us a thumbs up. Try and get 100 thumbs up on a Monday and a Thursday. Now, Joe Gelhardt, it's always a difficult one. The lad's probably not had much game time in the last few weeks. And to come straight into a team and to come straight into a game where it's a physical game, and Millwall are trying to break up the play all the time, slow the game down all the time. And they did control the ball quite a bit. And you got, for instance, like Cooper in the box trying to go down every 5 seconds for a penalty. 6'7" tall striker falling on the ground, some 5'5" 7-inch bloke just pushes his arm. I mean, come on, it's pathetic. Shithousery from Mr. Cooper himself. But that's the kind of what they're trying to do, break up the play all the time. So for us to get the ball down and play, it wasn't our natural game on. It wasn't really our natural game on Saturday. I think Gelhardt would find it hard straight away from the off to try and gel with the players, never mind playing that sort of intimidating atmosphere. I think he'll have a better run of it when we start playing the next 2 home games against Reading and the one after that. But I thought at the end of the day, he only had one real kind of opportunity and sort of went by. So I think it was sort of a baptism of fire for me for Joe Gelhardt, but I think he'll get better.
Yeah, only time will tell. But Terry, I've got your optimism. Then again, we need to put confidence in the lad that he can really make a difference going into the second half of the season. Jack, would you agree with Terry there that it was a potential lack of match fitness for Gelhardt on Saturday, or would you more agree with we may have to tweak the system a little bit in order to get him on the ball more, and also the most important thing for him to start scoring goals?
Yeah, hopefully I don't get interrupted by Philly in the middle of what I'm going to say this time. No, I thought Gelhardt, I agree with what Terry said. I thought it smacked of somebody who just looked like he hadn't had many minutes. He looked like he wasn't 100% match fit. He looked like it was more his sharpness, really. I mean, I think fitness and sharpness are sometimes 2 different things. You can be physically fit and ready to play, but not match sharpness. Like, you're not anticipating the ball as much as you would be if you'd had 15, 20 games and, getting shots away and touches. And I think that will come with minutes. I think, I think he's only played 2 or 3 games for Leeds this season, hasn't he? So that will come. I think he looks like someone who's going to be wanting the ball from deep, though. I think we have to try and get him to stay up top as much as we can, because to me, he looks like someone who's going to want to pick the ball up from the midfield and drive at the defence and run at them and use his powerful running style, which is different to Ross Stewart. Ross Stewart is your focal point of the attack, and obviously he hasn't got the aerial threat that Ross Stewart has. So I think we're going to have to just try and tell him as much as you can, try and stay up front, not so much for the aerial long balls, just to try and occupy defenders, because I think if he does start and go hunting for the ball, that might mean teams can press us higher up the pitch and us a little bit as Millwall did. So I think there's definitely more to come, and it's hard to judge a striker on that type of game. Do you know what I mean? It was a scrappy, really, really scrappy game of football, wasn't it? To be honest, not much quality going on at all. So it's hard to judge him on that. But I felt he was involved. He didn't have many out and out chances, but you could see he was getting involved and trying to get on the ball a little bit. So that was promising to see. But I think there's a lot more to come from him.
Absolutely. Owen, mate, Joe Gelhardt, would you say, agreeing, was it building on what Jack was saying there? It will just be a case of giving him a consistent run in the side in order for him to, play to his strengths in a way. And the games we've got, obviously, it's a shame he can't be involved against Fulham on Wednesday night, but the next few league games we've got coming up, the likes of, Reading at home on Saturday, QPR away next Tuesday, and Bristol City at home the following Saturday, that, we just put trust in the lad that he can make a difference at the top end of the pitch and, use his quality to great effect.
I think it's right. It is difficult to come in, and fit in with a new team, especially up front. I think that was one of the things that was talked about, wasn't it? If Sims had come back, that he could have just fitted straight in there and he wouldn't have needed any time. Whereas Gelhardt, has played limited first team football this year. He hasn't played. He's had a couple of training sessions with the lads, and then you're throwing him out there at probably one of the worst grounds to go to actually make your debut. At Millwall, that atmosphere, not obviously able to play their natural style of football. I think the one thing that does slightly concern me is, though, that he's not a back to goal kind of guy. He likes to drop off. He likes to go and work the channels. I think he had 2 touches in the box. That was it on Saturday. One was from a corner and one was a Trey Hume cross that he was dispossessed on. But I think there may be a need to tweak the style ever so slightly because he isn't that focal point. He's not a number 9. He's more a number 10 in the way he plays. And we may have to tweak that style a little bit. But I'm sure, with the players we've got, when you've got the likes of Clarkey, Roberts, Ahmad, Alex Pritchard, who I thought did really well when he came back on Saturday, they've got the skill, they've got the football and intelligence, I think, to be able to change the way they play to suit having Gelhardt up there. But I think it's going to take time, because I think we forget, he's only a young lad. Most of his football has been under 23s, Premier League B, and Yeah, I mean, once we see him, I think at home, give him a couple of run. The next 3 games, I think, will be a great chance for him to really sort of settle in. You know, Reading, QPR, Bristol City. That's going to be a great opportunity. I think the fact that it's Saturday, Tuesday, or Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever it is now, I think the games are going to come thick and fast, and it'll give him a good chance to get his match sharpness there. And I was listening to Stephen Elliott talk about it once, and he was saying that you can be, like one of the guys was saying, you could be as fit as you can in training. You can get so fit, but it takes you a good 4 to 5 games to actually get your match legs on you to be able to play in a game, because that's a whole different level of intensity.
Terry, before we come to you on the next talking point tonight, which is obviously going to be the goal scored in the game, at that game at the Den on Saturday, obviously Jake Cooper giving Millwall the lead, and then Dennis Serkin equalising from an Alex Pritchard free kick. What are the comments saying tonight?
Yeah, Mick Griffiths saying a good point down there, considering that we're not our best. CONRAD Tank on about, where's he out there? Yes, Gelhardt's goal scoring stats as a senior is sort of 3 and 54, not great. And now he's a lone striker at Sunderland, but other people are saying you can't judge him in the first game, can't judge him in that game. It's hard to adapt to a new team. Kim, oh, hi guys. She's on the channel. We've also got Jeff there. And we've got David. Totally agree, lads. Need to bed in. And that was a tough game. Hard to show you true quality against them. We've got Ian Barron, the Darlington fan on there. How are you doing, Ian? Hope you're okay. Alan Robinson, good luck for the rest of the season, Ian. But that's for Darlington. And Bright Light of the North. That was poor Leeds. That was a poor Leeds team. It's going towards CONRAD Tank there, saying it was a poor Leeds team.
The goal we conceded obviously came from a set piece, which Jack highlighted on the show the other week. Set pieces right now, at times I feel, we're looking quite fragile, defending them. I don't know whether that's a recent thing or the fact that we're lacking a bit of experience in the side, maybe more at the top end of the pitch. I know we've got the likes of Danny Bart back there, but assessing the goal that Millwall scored, obviously it was ex-Sunderland man George Honeyman went for the top corner. It was a brilliant save from Patterson, but the goal itself, a well obviously delivered corner into the box. And Jake Cooper, it was weird, strange watching it in the ground. I don't think he knew too much about it. I don't know how he managed to get his foot on it, and I think it went in off the post in the end. But Terry, assessing that goal, could we have done a little bit better on a defensive point of view?
To be fair, it was hard lines on Patterson, because he just made a fantastic stop in the top corner to pull out the brilliant save to push it around for a corner. So I was just like over the moon with that save, and then before you know it's in the back of the net. But it was just like the shithousery from Cooper all over, He's on the floor looking for a penalty, rolling around like a baby, and the ball drops to him. He puts the ball in the back of the net. He couldn't do that in a million. You do that 100 times, you do it the once, and that was the one time. Total fluke of a goal. Absolute fluke of a goal. The bloke should have been sent off for crying around on the floor like a baby. That's my opinion. He's an absolute shithouse of a man.
I'm taking it.
Not a big fan
that's referring to the Dan Ballard incident in the first half.
Who?
With Jake Cooper, was it?
He was on the ground all the time. He was trying to get a penalty every 5 minutes. As soon as the ball came in the
one
box,
in particular I'm thinking of.
I'm not sure, but I know every time the ball came in the box, he just wanted to get a penalty. A bloke of his size and his strength rolling around on the ground. Oh, he should be embarrassed. He should be embarrassed.
Jack, would you agree there with Terry's points and Jake Cooper? But also, looking back at that goal, will we be a little bit disappointed we weren't a lot more physical in terms of our defensive play to try and stop that from going in?
Sorry a minute there. It's blatant cheating on my behalf. It's complete cheating.
What's frustrating from my point of view, Jacob, is the fact that we concede from a corner, but it's not the first contact. If someone had powered above one of our players, given the height that Millwall have and the physicality, and we're a fairly short, slight team, if someone had powered over him and jumped over the top and got the header in, sometimes you can say, well, they were going to get there. What's annoying for me is it's the second ball that they actually win. It's not the first contact, and we don't really clear it. What I actually noticed was, though, Cooper I think, is it Alessi goes up for Cooper and he completely wipes him out. He completely jumps into him and wipes him out, and then he's free. And as Terry says, it's fortunate. I mean, you could argue it's a bit creative the way he does it, but I think it's also an element of fortune. He just swings his leg at that. That could go anywhere, could go up in the air, could go over the bar. Unfortunately for us, it loops up in off the post, and there's absolutely nothing Patterson can do. So there's a bit of bad fortune. It reminded us of a goal in a Tyne-Wear derby that Gary Speed scored all them years ago. You know, when we beat the Mags 2-1, when he's on the ground, Gary Speed, he's at it. It was a bit similar to that. I think it's a bit creative from Cooper, but he can't know where he's putting his legs. He just sort of flings his legs out and hopes for the best. We get unlucky, but I mean, if Millwall were going to score, they weren't going to carve us open from what open play. It was going to be from a set piece, so it's just annoying. But they always carry that threat.
Owen, on to you, mate. Goal we conceded. Was it just a complete and utter fluke, or do you reckon the lads will feel a little bit hard done by in terms of how it's ended up in the back of the net?
I think you're right. It's a second ball. It's just, I think someone taking ownership, just putting their foot through the ball. Or I don't want to criticise Patterson because, you know, he could, as you could say, he could have dived on the ball, but it was just chaos. It was a complete fluke, and like Jack said, you could understand if it was you know, like a power header, because we are a small team, you know, and I think, as daft as it might sound, you know, not having Ross Stewart help defend set pieces is a big thing for the club, I think. But yeah, it was just a very scrappy goal. No one took ownership. No one sort of put their foot through the ball. And I think you've got to have, I think, perhaps a look at leadership on there. You know, I know Danny Bath's back there, but there is no, I don't know, there's no veteran leadership there. You take Bath out of that team, that is a very, very young team there on Saturday. And I think at times you just need someone at the back to get things under control and put their foot through it. That's what they needed to do. But yeah, I think it was a bit of a fluke. But I agree with what Terry was saying. Cooper he's a disgrace. I mean, the guy's 6'6", and yet he goes down if someone blows on him or slightly touches him. I mean, I'd be embarrassed if I was that size and I hit the deck that easily. I mean, it was. I mean, there was that one the first half. I think it was the Ballard, where Ballard slightly touches him and he goes down like he's been shot. So yeah, I agree with what Terry was saying about that. Was embarrassing. That was proper embarrassing.
One man I thought that potentially had a bit of an off day yesterday on a defensive point of view, and I think at times he struggled to cope with Millwall's physical presence up front. Was it Alessi at the back? Terry, would you say that it was just one of those days for him? He's more of a defender that when he's up against certain opponents that he has a better game that are different to Millwall. And would you say that he was someone that really struggled with how Millwall set up at the weekend?
Before I go into that, Johnny Dawson agrees with everybody else. Cooper, aka the carpet, 6'7" fairy. Michael McDonough, it's a good job Terry hasn't had a beer because he'll have a good rant tonight. We got who else on there? Alan knows what. Laura, hey Laura. Our lack of height cost us at set pieces, so she agrees with lack of height. Anyway, Alessi, you know, he's had an injury for a good few weeks. He was rushed back before his time in one of his previous games. When he got about, it was at home match, he got about 60, 70 minutes. He took off with cramp. Then he had 45 minutes against Fulham, then was rested for the second half. And then again, he was out on his feet against Millwall. You know, the lad's being brought back before his fitness is ready. He's being brought back before he's match fit, being brought back, probably still carrying sort of resemblances of a little bit of an injury, but we've got nobody else to put it on the pitch. So for me, I'm not going to take anything away from Alessi. I think he's done brilliant all season. He's done brilliant since he's come back, and I think it'll get better as sort of the matches go on. Now, for me, I don't think I'll be inclined to start him on Wednesday if we had likes of Huggins fit. I'd rather have him on the bench and resting for the weekend. So, no, I think a lot of players just struggled with the whole match on Saturday. Millwall, to the credit, I mean, end of the day, I'm not sour grapes. Millwall, into the credit, did play well. It was a good team performance from Millwall. Apart from a bit of cheating from Cooper, apart from that, you know, it was a good team performance from Millwall, and we did find it difficult to deal with them. I thought our lads stood up, and I thought that, you know, performed particularly well in a really intimidating situation. So I think for Alessi, I think it's just one of those games. I think he's probably just a little bit tired, needs a bit more sort of time to recuperate and then get ready for the weekend.
Jack, before we come to you on Alessi's performance of the weekend, 128 now watching, 64 likes. If you could hit the thumbs up button tonight, we're trying obviously to get to 100 likes. That'll be very much appreciated. Jack, Alessi at the weekend, would you say it was just one of those days for him where at times he struggled to adapt to Millwall's style of play?
Yeah, I thought he was poor. I noticed it straight away in the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes. He got caught in the ball a couple of times. You know, he misjudged the flight of the ball and they got in. And he jumped into Honeyman, potentially could have given a penalty. I don't think it was a penalty. The Millwall fans were shouting for it. He gave the ball away 2 or 3 times as well. I don't know if changing, you know, because we've played him as part of the left one of the 3 centre backs in the back 5. And then we played him as a back 4 as a left back, and he's been in and out of the team. Had 45 minutes, as has been touched on. So I think if he gets a good run if he gets his fitness up and gets a good run in a settled position, I think that'll help him. But I think he's just doesn't know whether he's coming or going at the minute. He's been coming off the bench, getting dropped, and then playing in a couple of different roles. So I think that probably hasn't helped. And he was the only one really. I looked at, you know, we didn't have that many good individual performances, but it was the only one that really looked like. He was the only one that really looked like he struggled and really thought. I was surprised he didn't go off at half time. I think he went off did he go off 15, 20 minutes into the second half?
I think so, yeah.
Because I was surprised to see him come back out, because not being funny, but I was looking at him thinking, you need to go off here because you're just having one of those days whereby nothing's going right. Millwall have been the better team, so I was surprised that Tony Mowbray gave him the second half, but obviously his replacement come on and did all right, got the equaliser, so...
We'll come to Owen in just a moment. We'll go to Owen there now. It feels like he looks all sorted after the entrance into his room. Yeah, Alessi at the weekends. Would you agree with Jack there? It was the right decision for him to be taken off in the end, and obviously a man who we've missed the last few weeks came back from injury. Dennis Serkin got back into the team and also got on the score sheet as well. So well done to him.
Yeah, I mean, Alessi's done well for us this season. He's still a very young lad who's learning his trade. I personally think he's more of a left-sided centre-back or a left side of a centre-back in a 3. You know, if you're going to play a full-back, you've got to kind of have a run in the team. You've got to get used to it. And I think you've got to have a kind of specialism to play a full-back. I mean, we've seen with Try Hume how since he's come into the team and he's had a run of games, how he's just got stronger and stronger because he is a natural right-back. I think Serkin coming back is great. Unfortunately, again, the poor lad's got himself injured again. How bad the concussion is, I don't know. And obviously, you know, he'd have to go through his concussion protocols to see if he's fit enough to come back next Saturday. But I think, you know, Alessi's done great for us, but he was getting out-jumped. He was losing the flight of the ball. And I think I think he's not a natural fullback. You know, as we saw in the West Brom game when Jed Wallace pretty much ran rings around him for most of that second half. He's not a natural left back, and I think he has done well when he's been called upon. But I think you've got to have someone who is a natural left back there. Serkin, Huggins, it can play there. He did very well, you know, in that Birmingham game where he played 97 minutes after having a year out. So I'd be saying, yeah, we've got to try and play a more natural left back there. And Alessi is more a left-sided centre half.
Terry, before we come to you on the change of fortunes for us on Saturday, which was the substitutes that came off the bench, the likes of Dennis Serkin and Alex Pritchard, and also a new man, Pierre Ekwar in the midfield. What is the live chat currently saying?
2 seconds. Also, Anderson came on, didn't he? I think he got his first
the debut for Joe Anderson as well.
He did, aye. Miguel Allen, Alessi does well when defending as a left back, but as soon as he reaches opposition final third, he looks like a centre back, which he is. Interesting. Dominic Porter, we need Wickham on a second half deal. Wickham, Connor Wickham. I personally wouldn't have him myself, but everyone has their own opinions. Jeff Millwall, a good side. You don't need. They have lost at home. They never lost at home since September. So yeah, at the end of the day, that just proves it itself. Never lost at home since September. So they're a decent side. So it's obviously a difficult game. But yeah, Dennis Serkin came on. The problem is, again, Dennis Serkin's been out with a bad injury for so long. So what do? Do you take Alessi off at half time, give Dennis 45 minutes, and then he might regress again? The injury might pop up again. You want to try and maybe sneak Dennis on 15 minutes one game, maybe 20 next game, then 45 next game. Now he's out because of the head injury, so he's not available. Huggins wasn't on the bench on Saturday either, so I'm not sure what's happened with Huggins, whether he's out of favour or whether he's just not, whether he's going to pick up an injury again. Anderson came straight back into it. But the goal from Dennis Serkin was a fantastic bullet header. And I mean, and that's what you want from people like that, to put the body on the line. And that's what you see. Dennis Serkin, he gives everything. You can't deny the lad always putting his body on the line. Brilliant free kick. Couldn't see Pritchard back. Brilliant free kick from Pritchard. And there was, I mean, if it was VAR, their keeper would have been sent off red card for violent conduct. He punched Dennis Cirkin in the face. He's knocked him out, It's ridiculous. It's just blatant red card, but like usual, to get away with it. I was gutted for I was over the moon, but gutted for the lad at the time. But I was pleased to see he got on his feet and he walked off. So I'm hoping he's okay. Everything's okay. And he won't be playing obviously tomorrow night, Wednesday night. So it'll be Saturday, possibly touch wood.
Jack, would you agree there? Obviously, brilliant to see Dennis Cirkin back, but being in the ground on Saturday, it was sort of weird when it hit the net because we didn't know how to sort of celebrate it in a way. People were confused. Could there be a foul in the box somewhere in the scramble that was obviously right by the penalty spot when the ball got whipped in from Pritchard? It was sort of a weird one to take, wasn't it? But even when the goal was given, it was sort of a reaction where I think more people were concerned whether Cirkin was okay, to be honest, because it looked like he was I think he was out for count, wasn't he, after that challenge from the keeper?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I was actually going to say that. You said something I was going to say. It was a strange celebration of the goal. We sort of, the ball's gone in, but then straight away it was, Jesus, it looks like he's out cold. It looks like he'd had a left hook from Tyson Fury, maybe. Do you know what I mean? The way he was out, he just wasn't moving or anything at all. So that was a major concern for him. I didn't know whether it was going to be given a foul the other way or maybe there's an offside. So I sort of celebrated, checked, and then it was all straight away. It was all, let's see how he is, and hopefully he was okay, and he is okay. I know you've got the protocol of the concussion whereby he's got a time that he'll have to be out now. So I would like to see him back next Saturday, but I don't know what the ruling is on that. There's one or two on the chat saying he has to be off for 2 weeks. Somebody might clarify that exactly, but I know that there is a time that he definitely has to be out. But yeah, I thought it just showed great bravery, and as has been touched on, Cirkin is that type of player. He wears his heart on his sleeve and really puts his body on the line. And in a game like that, you have to do that to get the point, but we adapted. That's what I liked about the performance. We all know how good of a team we are. We've seen how well we've played. Do you know what I mean? Against Millwall at home, against Reading, for example, Middlesbrough the first half. We've all seen a Sunderland team play really, really well. But you saw a different side to us on Saturday, didn't you? You saw a bit of grit, a bit of determination, and it was horses for courses. We went for a physical team, and we played a physical game, and we came away with it with a very, very good point. So yeah, it was nice to see those coming off the bench, and also special mention for Pritchard as well, because we have missed his dead ball delivery, his free kicks and set piece delivery from corners as well. So he put it in a really, really dangerous area. But I agree with what Terry said about the keeper as well. I think goalkeepers get too much protection. They can just come out and do anything, just you punch and kick, and it's just, he's entitled to go for it. Well, there has to be some kind of protection for the outfield player in that scenario. But yeah, it was a good goal, and it was much needed.
Owen, would you agree with Jack there on the goalkeeper debate? I mean, I've been at the ground on Saturday and obviously seeing that go in. I think, as I mentioned before, everyone was just glad to see Cirkin get up and walk away after about a minute. I know the stretcher came out, but I think now it's important we follow, was it the head protocol after that, and assess him clearly whether he's going to be right for Wednesday and also for the league game against Reading at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like the keeper coming out and punching it, it's a difficult one there, because if you're going to start sending keepers off for coming out and making contact with players and they're punching it, you're going to completely eradicate that from the game, because the keeper's going to be terrified to come and do it. But yeah, I think there is perhaps a case of reviewing it, and maybe in the Premier League under VAR there might have been a review and there might have been a different outcome. I don't know what the rules are there. I thought Cirkin was very, very brave in sticking his head there, and it just sort of summarises who Dennis Cirkin is. The guy, he's like a little tank, isn't he? The way he gets around, he's not scared of anything. I'm just reading. I was just trying to quickly find on the FA what the rules are about concussion protocol. And apparently there's a whole series of steps they have to go through, which are very complicated. But it said here the player should not be allowed to return to play for at least 6 days after the injury. So I mean, theoretically, he could be back for Saturday if it's 6 days, if he clears the protocol and has none of the side effects. But it's a difficult one. But I thought Cirkin, was credit to him. And as Tony Mowbray said after the game, Dennis Cirkin didn't have a clue that he'd scored a goal, did he? He had absolutely zero clue that the ball had gone in. So that's how bad it was.
Yeah. Terry, before we come on to Alex Pritchard's effective performance coming onto the pitch, getting the assist at the weekend. What are the current comments that are being put on the live chat?
Right. Michael Allen, how surprisingly good was Mishoot in the game? Alan Walton, Mr. Sunderland back. He can play at left back. Jezza Clark enjoyed the stream. Thank you, Jezza. The Bristolian Magam, I love my football team, passion, talent. What more could we ask for? Johnny Dawson, Pritchard is important to the team, as Ross Stewart. Hopefully no more long-term injuries, which will cost us in patches in the season. So there we go. So yeah, Pritchard, hopefully he's over his injuries. Had 2 or 3 little injuries. Came back too soon last time. But hopefully he's back now. And again, I'm not sure whether we should start him on Wednesday. It might be too soon. But what was the question, Jacob?
Just how good of a performance and how good of a shift he put in when he came off the bench on Saturday.
Is that Dennis Cirkin? Or Pritchard?
Alex Pritchard.
Alex Pritchard. Yeah, I mean, end of the day, like I said, he didn't have a massive amount of minutes to sort of play on the pitch. But I thought they all did respond really well. Like Jack said, they all responded well. We had to adapt to the situation. And you've got to give credit where credit's due. You know, we fought back from 1-0 down in an intimidating situation. And we got a draw. At the end of the day, we got a decent draw because we didn't seem to be looking as if we were going to lose the game after that. And I hope Cirkin's okay because, like I say, he's a little tank. Alex Pritchard will get better with game time. But I'm dubious about putting him straight in on Wednesday and even on Saturday because if that injury picks up again, he could be out for the rest of the season. So we've got to be careful. But I think our squad, to be honest, I think it looks a bit thin. I was looking on Saturday, I thought, take away, you got like the first 11 and the substitutes. Now I thought we are missing 1 or 2 players. We could have really got 1 or 2 more players in the sort of on the transfer deadline day. Because I thought, we do look as if we're lacking a bit of sort of experience on the pitch, like Exile Macam said, Owen.
Jack, building on what Terry said there, would you agree that we have to manage Pritchard better this time, considering the fact that when we brought him back before, it was a little bit too soon? But at the same time, the lack of experience, particularly in the middle of the park in this squad, to have a player back like that now is always a credit to see. And considering the fact that, Pritchard, I think he's out of contract in the summer. Correct me if I'm wrong. He'll be also looking to put in decent performances in order for, obviously, to make an impression if clubs obviously are looking at him.
Yeah, I thought he came on and did really well. I think it's almost a backhanded compliment when he's rushed back because I think he's so important to the team. We realised we're a much better team with Alex Pritchard in it, so we rushed him back thinking he was ready, and he probably thought he was ready, and it's actually made it worse in the long run. I think what I noticed on Saturday was, though, at a time when we needed to get somebody on the ball and actually play our game, because we hadn't played that way for sort of 65 minutes, 70 minutes before he come on. He was the difference. We did start to get on the ball a little bit. I think Millwall dropped their press as well because they had something to protect when they went 1-0 in front. So their press wasn't as high up. But I noticed when Pritchard come on, we did start to get on the ball a little bit more and start to play it between the lines. And it wasn't vintage Sunderland by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a little bit more like you'd expect from a Sunderland team this season. And obviously the delivery they put in the box was absolutely on the money. I think he is a big player. He's one of the more experienced one. We've touched on how young the squad is. Alex Pritchard's one of the older members of the squad, so he brings that experience. His technical ability, his ability actually on the ball is as good as anybody in the team. And he was getting a little bit of stick off the Millwall fans, wasn't he? Because he's a West Ham fan. He was giving it all the Hammers signs and things like that. So it was very, very enjoyable for him to get him a little bit back and play his part in the assist for the goal. I always like it. I think it's right the fans give players a bit of stick, but I like it when a player shuts them up. And he did it at Huddersfield. Well, the second time this season, isn't it? He did it at Huddersfield early in the season. He's done it at West Ham as well.
Yeah, he's that type of bloke, Alex Pritchard. But I don't know whether you saw the reception he got when he came off the team bus from the Millwall fans.
He did, not the nicest, but it's nothing. He shut them all up with a great assist, so yes. he won in the end.
He was dying to get on the pitch and put in a decent shift. But I was going to ask you, Jack, there, considering Pritchard's back now, I've had this debate with a few fans. Obviously, I know most of his career he's sort of played as like a number 10, an attacking midfielder, but also we have seen him at times this season, drop a little bit deeper, sort of playing as a holding midfielder as well, alongside, was it Dan Neil at times, and obviously track him back in order to help out the back line. But do you reckon we need to get him as further forward as we can in this side, considering it's so thin? Or do you reckon him playing in that holding role, because of the experience he offers, is the right way forward?
I think he could play in the holding role. I think he's definitely got the technical ability and he can control the ball. I think I agree, though. I think he's better behind the striker, which raises a question, because that's where Diallo is probably at his best as well. So do you then start thinking about dropping Jack Clark and putting one of them, putting Diallo on the left and Pritchard behind it? So you go with Gelhardt up front, Paddy Roberts on one side, Diallo on the left, and Pritchard behind them. I don't know. That's a debate. That's a debate you could have. Is that meaning that you're not getting the best out of Diallo? I don't know. But Jack Clark hasn't had many games. Hasn't had many good games recently. I think he's dropped off in the last month or so.
He's taken off again as well, isn't he? So.
I just don't think he's playing well at all. I think he's almost over trying, and he's not getting on the ball. And I think what I didn't see, but one or two said he's thrown a bit of a strop when he's been taken off a couple of times as well. So that's not good. That's not the attitude you want. So we could play Pritchard in the centre mid, Jacob, but I think I would be inclined to play him, off the striker and in the little pockets, in the holes that he seems to pick up and get on the ball. I think that's where he's at his best.
Yeah. Owen, would you agree there? Obviously, we touched on a potential player to drop if we're going to move Pritchard further forward, being Jack Clark. Me personally, I think Jack Clark could do with a spell out the starting 11. Percy, I think, and obviously people need to remember the times where he hasn't been in the starting lineup and he has come on, he has put in a decent shift. But I think the main reason Tony Mowbray doesn't really want to drop Jack Clark at this moment in time is I think he's looked at the amount of assists he's got this season, but at the same time he's dropped off a lot. But coming back to obviously Alex Pritchard, do you reckon that maybe considering even to help out Joe Gelhardt a little bit more, it will be more of a counter-attacking system and we'll see three midfielders in the middle of the park going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility, but I think, Pritchard, he brings that bit of extra veteran experience onto the pitch, doesn't he? That we really do need. And I think like Jack said, we played a lot better once he came on. Our press was a lot higher. We seemed to get on the ball. He seemed to link defence, midfield, and attack a lot better. And it's a really tough dilemma for Tony Mowbray, isn't it? Who do I drop? Who do I leave out? Roberts is playing so well at the moment, and Ahmad obviously is an absolute class actor. You can see that's it. So Jack Clark, could I think benefit from some time out of the team. We could go with three in the middle and change the formation, go with like a 4-3-3 or something like that. That may work, But even I think if we were stayed as we play now, 4-2-3-1. I think having Pritchard behind Gelhardt might just help him out a little bit more because Alex Pritchard is one of those players who's, he'll talk to the players around him. He'll tell them, and I think his experience will actually help Gelhardt, I think, a lot more. Diallo, don't get me wrong, is an absolute class act. He is absolutely brilliant, but I don't think he's got. That's because he's only 19 years old. He's only a young lad. He hasn't quite got that element to his game yet that Pritchard's got. That's come with all that experience. And I think having Pritchard behind Gelhardt might actually help Gelhardt to settle in better and to know where to make the runs to and know where to go, because Pritchard will be there telling him and giving him a little bit of like on-field coaching, I think. So Pritchard is a great addition back, and it's a lovely problem for Mowbray to have, isn't it? Who do you leave out of that attacking three behind the striker?
Absolutely. Terry, before we go on to Wednesday now for the FA Cup fourth round replay against Fulham, if you'd like to read out some of the comments on tonight's live chat.
Yeah, Adam French says, class goal, just goes to show how far our team has come since the likes of Moyes and Parkinson's times. Great show, lads. Charlotte also says she's a massive fan of SAFC Exiles Mackham. He's only 122 more subscribers away from 1,000. So after this show, if anybody wants to pop over and subscribe to SAFC Exiles Mackham, it'd be absolutely fantastic. Do own a big massive favour. Only Fools and Horses. I always say that, only Fools and Horses. Only Fools and SAFC. Apparently Marco Silva has a touchline ban for Wednesday after his fourth yellow card at the weekend.
Before hopefully we may see Terry's tactics board for Wednesday evening. Right now we've got 140 watching on tonight's live stream, 97 likes, 3 away from 100. So if you could as well as hit the subscribe button, also hit the thumbs up button. If we can get to 100 likes and over, it'll be very much appreciated. So Terry, FA Cup fourth round replay Wednesday night at home to Fulham. The last game ended 1-1 at Craven Cottage. In terms of changes, what are you expecting Tony Mowbray to do to this side, and how do you think he'll set up in the game?
Look at the way I see it as Fulham going all out for this winter on Wednesday night, because I think it's their chance to really make it to Wembley, where I don't think they're going to make it in the Champions League or on the UEFA Cup. So I think this is their big opportunity, and I think it might be just a game too much for Sunderland, to be fair, because I mean, I wouldn't want to start Pritchard in a cup match. I wouldn't want to continue to start playing Alessi in a cup match, and we haven't got Sergen, so it's whether Huggins is fit or not. So on my board, I'll be inclined to sort of have Pritchard on the bench and bring him on just in if we need him. But I'll be tempted to either go 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. And that's what we tempted to go for, something like that. I mean, it's not the end of the world if we get beaten in the FA Cup. I'd rather keep the players fit for the league, because I'm particularly worried about the amount of players we're getting injured and the amount of players that are inexperienced. So I'm sort of kind of thinking, give some of the other players a chance, and if we still might win, we still might beat them, and we've got like Pritchard on the bench to come off. I'm very worried about starting Pritchard or even starting Alessi on Wednesday night, to be fair.
Jack, building on from what Terry was saying, obviously looking at his tactics board, obviously Niall Huggins making a predicted return to left back on Wednesday evening, and Abdullah Barr starting in an attacking midfield role. Be interesting to see what Mowbray does on that front at the top end of the pitch. But changes wise, also looking at the people who did come on, the other people who did come on at the weekend, the likes of new Sunderland boy Pierre Ekwa, Joseph Anderson coming on as well after Pritchard was taken off, and also one man who didn't come on that was on the bench at Millwall was obviously Jewison Bennett. But in terms of changes, do we have to balance it out well and also take into account it's a winnable league game that we need players fit for against Reading at the weekend?
Yeah, I think it's all about balance, isn't it? I think we've, I agree with the majority of what Terry said. I would be tempted to maybe give the new lad Anderson a go at centre-back just to see what he's like. I think this is an ideal chance for him to have a game. Not that the FA Cup isn't a priority, but I think just, we know what Ballard and Bath are all about, but I'd be tempted to stick him in for maybe Danny Barth, maybe give Danny Barth a slight rest, because they had a physical game, didn't a bruising game on Saturday. Maybe give him a rest and see what Anderson can do. I would also be tempted to stick Ekwa in as well. I think he did okay when he came on Saturday, and I'd be tempted to see what he's like from the off. So I'd maybe be tempted to throw him in defensive midfield. Obviously, there's one enforced change up front. It has to be pretty much Diallo, doesn't it? Because Gelhardt's cup tied, so there's nobody else we can really play up front other than maybe Jack Clark. But I wouldn't be for that. So I think that would be the ones that I would do. I wouldn't make wholesale changes, but definitely probably 3 or 4 just to freshen it up a little bit and give the fringe players a chance to see what they can do, and maybe they can stake the claim for regular first team games.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, mate. Terry, do we, looking at obviously what's been said on our personal chat, do we have any donations being put in tonight's live chat?
Yeah. Our American friends, Marianne and Carl Taylor, a £5 donation, much appreciated. Hi guys, an Exile Macam, great point, 2-0 win on Wednesday. Now, there's a few people saying is Luke Owen 9 back now. I was under the impression he was banned for one more match. Is that right, Owen?
I think he's back, actually. I think he served his 3.
Back?
I think, yeah, he is back, yeah, because the 3, I think if you take it 3 games, the Borough game, the Fulham game, and then the Millwall game, that's his 3 games now. So he is back on Wednesday. So I would personally start him somewhere, give him a run out, let him play, get him back into the team, whether that's a left back or playing as a holding central midfield player. But I'd definitely give Luke O'Neill a run out on Wednesday because, again, experience, talent, and I've got to say I'm an unashamed Luke. I love Luke O'Neill. I just love the guy's enthusiasm. Yeah. Love him.
Yeah, 100%. My bad. I didn't realise he was back, so I would have had him in the team somewhere. Remember, we played 12 on Wednesday. I might get a chance of winning it.
So, Owen, obviously put forward to the lads there in terms of changes being made. What would be your changes if you were Tony Mowbray for Wednesday evening?
I'd take some of the lads out the firing lines because cut runs look great, and I'd love, given the fact it's 50 years since '73, I'd love to play Leeds. The spirit of '73 and all that. I'd love to have Leeds at home in the next round, but I think that game against Reading is far more important. So I would take out some players. I agree. I think we should take Bath out, play Anderson. I'd put Huggins in at left back. I'd also perhaps put O'Nien in alongside Neil in central midfield in the holding roles. But after that, your team pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? With Gelhardt being out, you've got to go with those players up for Bar in as well. Perhaps you put someone like Pat Roberts or Ahmad on the bench to rest them for the Reading game, because that for me is far more important. It'd be just our luck, wouldn't it? Given what's happened to Ross Stewart, for one of those lads to go down like Roberts or Ahmad or someone like to go down injured in the game on Wednesday, just typical Sunderland, wouldn't it? How the season's gone with injuries. So, but no, I do think we need to make changes, and I think we need to protect the likes of Bath and Ahmad and people like that, because Saturday for me is so much more important.
I think we're going to go to some score predictions for Wednesday evening. Actually, before what I didn't mention before, as well as your score predictions for Wednesday, can we get a man of the match from each of you for Saturday's 1-1 draw at Millwall? Terry, we'll start with you.
Give it to Dennis Cirkin just for the bravery in putting his head on the line. But I thought Anthony Patterson had a good game as well, and so that's my two. I can't really separate. I give men of the match. There we go, men of the match.
And what's your score prediction for Wednesday evening, Terry, mate?
I think we'll get beat personally. I think it'll be a comfortable victory for Fulham, but I don't like to predict a defeat, so I'll go 1-1, win on penalties.
Am I right thinking it's straight 2 penalties if it's a draw after 90 minutes on Wednesday? No extra time?
I haven't got a clue.
Pass on that one.
I don't know whether they've changed it. I know the main change they've made, obviously, I think the next round, if we get through, going onwards now, I think the 5th round is played midweek if we get through for that home tie against Leeds. But Jack, on to you next. Your man of the match from Saturday's game against Millwall and your score prediction for Wednesday.
Yeah, man of the match. I'm a big Dan Ballard fan. I thought he was excellent. Every time he comes on the pitch, he looks like an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. He looks like he's almost, dare I say, too good for the Championship. I know I've said it a couple of times before, but the more I watch him, the more I get impressed. As has been touched on, Shirkin was brave and solid. Patterson did well under difficult circumstances. Ballard's partner, Danny Bath, had a decent game, I felt. But I would have given it to Dan Ballard, because it didn't matter what Millwall threw at them. They didn't really get through. And it was only a bit of luck, the way that the ball bobbled and flicked in, that conceded the goal. So I would have given it to him. But I think he's fantastic, and I think we'd be lucky to hold on to him next season. I really do feel that. Score prediction for Wednesday night. I think we'll give them a good game. I don't think Fulham will outclass us at all, but I just think their intensity might, the amount of games that we've had recently, particularly in a short space of time, they have probably a bigger squad than we do, and they'll probably be able to cope with the extra intensity of the game. So I think they'll give them a good game. It wouldn't surprise if it went extra time, if it is extra time or not, but I think Fulham will just edge it 2-1. I think we'll give them a real good game, but I think we might just come up slightly short. So I'd go 2-1 Fulham.
And finally, Owen, over to you, mate. Man of the match for Saturday, and what do you reckon the outcome will be for that FA Cup replay against Fulham?
I'm going to agree with Jack. Dan Ballard, I just thought he was absolute class act, and I honestly think, come the end of the season, we are going to struggle to hold on to him, because there's already talk now. I know it's paper talk, I know it's social media, I know it's a toxic place, but there's already talk about him being eyed up for 15-20 million by Premier League clubs. I mean, that's how highly he's already been thought of. So I thought he was absolute class, which he has since he's come back. He's been absolutely outstanding. He is just, an absolutely fantastic centre half, and when you come through the Arsenal system, I suppose that's what you get, isn't it? You get those outstanding centre halves, and he is one of them. As for score prediction, well, I think a lot depends on the team we play. I think if we make changes and we bring in some of those other players like Ekwa, like Anderson, like Huggins, like Bar, I think we'll give them a good game. We'll fight. I think it'll end 1-1. I think we'll lose on penalties.
Okay. And also, I do agree with you in the sense that Fulham, I think, will be ready for business on Wednesday. But I think whoever Mowbray will start, listen, I have confidence they'll put in a decent shift. But I think he may, even though Marco Silva, obviously it's confirmed in the comment section tonight that it looks like he is going to be banned from the touchline at the Stadium of Light on Wednesday. Fulham will probably bring the likes of, Bobby Reid, ex-Newcastle United man Alessandro Mitrovic, back into the starting lineup, Willian, and also maybe goalkeeper Bernd Leno as well, just to add a little bit more quality and show that they're really going to go for it and turn up and get the business done on Wednesday evening. But obviously, in case people didn't know, the game is live on the BBC on Wednesday evening. But just a quick one from all of you before we come to the latter stages of tonight's show. Are we a little bit disappointed in terms of the lack of ticket sales for Wednesday evening? And do you think the club potentially could have done a little bit more to promote why people should come to the Stadium of Light on Wednesday, considering the fact it's the 50th anniversary year of that famous win against Leeds? And maybe, I don't know, should the club have looked at a potential deal to attract more people coming on Wednesday, in terms of you buy tickets for this and there could be a discount for the Reading game at the weekend? Or do you think it's simply the fact that the game's live on the telly on the BBC, which everyone has access to, and people just put off from going? Terry, we'll start with you.
Yeah, before we go to that, say a big thank you to everybody in the live chat tonight for your comments. We much appreciated. Thank you for the likes, over 115 likes on the channel tonight. We've got Harry the Football Talking SAFC. We've got Anon and Jimmy, all welcome to the chat. So again, thank you everybody for the chat. Personally, like usual, TV will take over. BBC's hosting the game, so it's midweek. A lot of people have at work sort of before and after, maybe it's toying with the idea of just watching it on TV and then get themselves straight to bed rather than going to the game. Also, there was a bit of trouble online. I noticed a lot of people had trouble in getting the sort of saved ticket for the season card. I know a lot of people where I just work personally myself, they couldn't get their tickets. I tried to get them for them myself. There was 4 or 5 of them there, and there was more in the offices. So there was a lot of problem in getting the tickets on the first day. Whether that continued to the second day, I'm not sure. So maybe that had something to do with it. We'll probably get over 20,000 there easily, probably close to 30,000. But at the end of the day, it's the FA Cup match. A lot of people know that it's going to be a tough game, and we've got 3 home games on the belt as well. So maybe saving themselves for the other 2 home matches.
Jack, would you agree with Terry there?
I just think it's the FA Cup now. It's less of a priority, and compared to the league game, people don't really. If people buy a season ticket, they're not really as inclined to go to the cup games. I don't know if it would be worth maybe just increasing the amount of a season ticket to maybe £5 or £10, and just telling everyone that's a season ticket holder they get the cup tickets for free. And if they actually turn up to the game, they clock a point or something along those lines, or doing a deal like you say, whereby they can offer really a discount or a cheaper, under 18 ticket with an adult ticket or something. I don't know, but I think you're always going to be struggling. Tough economic climate at the minute, as we've touched on. Not as much money going about these days, and people are more inclined to just bother with the home games when there's more riding on it, because it's a more intense game, and there's probably more to the league games these days than the FA Cup. I think you're never going to have the FA Cup like it was sort of 40 years ago. It's a sad decline of it. The more important the league games have got, the less important the FA Cup has, unfortunately.
Owen, before we come to you, Terry, you wanting in?
Yeah, I've read a few comments other social media where that £15 that is the least we can charge. FA has made a stipulation where it has to be at least £15. Is that right? Anybody know that?
I have heard of that before. I don't know if that's. I have heard of it, but I don't know if that's an actual rule. But I have heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously with the current climate and everything, with the current climate and the way things are with obviously food, shopping, and gas and electric, we probably could have made it cheaper if we were allowed to.
Yeah, it's I do understand that point there, Terry. Owen, obviously disappointing in terms of the attendance that we could get on Wednesday, but would you agree with Jack there? Obviously, that game being selected for BBC may put off people, and the fact that they could obviously get it on the TV on a channel where most people have access to, rather than go down to the stadium on Wednesday. Would you say that's the main cause of what will look like could be one of the lowest attendances of the season, but at the same time, do you not reckon it's to do more people just fully focused on, just making the most out of their season ticket because I think you have to pay extra on top of what you already have paid for your season ticket for the FA Cup games?
Yeah, I think a lot of it it's the tally thing, isn't it? And it's midweek, There's also, I think, you've got a substantial number of Sunderland fans who travel from long distances, and if you've got to pay extra, you've obviously got your fuel costs, and it's on the telly. It takes away, doesn't it? And I mean, it's sad what like what Terry was saying. If £15 is the minimum we can charge, it really is a bit daft, really, of the FA. You could be really attracting new audiences to games if you were allowing clubs in our position to say charge 10 quid for an adult and a junior gets in free with them or something like that. It could really attract, but it is very tough financial times. But it's also like Jack was saying, the FA Cup's kind of lost a bit of its appeal, hasn't it? Now I think if you ask more Sunderland fans now, as all three of the four of us have said tonight, what's more important? The Reading game on Saturday. The league game is more important than the FA Cup. And I think if you'd had that same discussion 30, 40 years ago, it would have been the other way around, wouldn't it? Oh, no, the Cup's more important. I think it's just number one, the financial climate. It's just the climate we're in with football now, that league football is just seen as being far more important, and people don't want to spend that extra money because they haven't got it. Just this day and age, there isn't a lot of money swishing around, is there? Because of everything, like Terry says, that's going on with food prices, energy prices, fuel prices, everything. It's a sad state of affairs, really.
Thank you very much, Owen. Terry, before we close the show tonight, what have people been saying on tonight's live chat?
Anon just basically said that £10 is the minimum you're allowed to charge for the FA Cup, so it might be £10. Johnny Dawson, the game is about money. And Mick Griffiths is agreeing with Owen about the FA Cup isn't what it used to be. And Jack Robert Alexandra says, cheers lads, good live chat. Excellent, says Stephen. Says everyone's much appreciated. Philip Anson, do you guys know if Bailey Wright's injury is long term? I didn't realise he was injured. He only came on for 5 minutes before he lasted 5 minutes before he was subbed for the Rotherham game. I'm not sure. I've never heard anything. Anybody else have?
I know he came off, but I don't know the full extent of what the injury is. I mean, I'm not sure who Rotherham were playing at the weekend. I'm not sure if he was starting the game. I'm pretty sure he was, but yeah, I need to double check on that one. But obviously Bailey Wright, an absolute warrior of a player. He knew what it meant to play for the badge. So thoughts go out to you if it's a long-term injury. Guys, that's all.
It's concussion, by the way. Is
it in concussion?
Yeah.
It's a concussion. Okay. Oh, thoughts go out to you, Bailey, at this moment in time. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on tonight's Monday Night Live on SAFC Fan TV. Currently 125 people watching. Over 110 likes as well. We're close to 120. If you haven't liked, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, most importantly, is now we're pushing to the big 10,000 subscribers on SAFC Fan TV. We just hit over 9,000 at the weekend. The journey starts now. But thank you to all the comments that have been put in tonight's live chat as well. And this show goes out to passionate and family man, a massive Sunderland fan, Chris Collier. Rest in peace, and thoughts and prayers go out to your friends and family right now.